ready to present FD. Getting ready to start the peak performance. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Savvy Sales Lady Live. I'm your host, Christine Harrington, the Savvy Sales Lady. Now, you could be anywhere, but you've chosen to be here with me today to learn a little bit more. Well, let me tell you how this is all going to roll out, all right? The first thing we're going to do, I'm going to remind you to like this video if it helps you with your selling day. And then I want to remind you to, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next Savvy Sales Lady Live. And just remember, if you are getting in late to the podcast, you can watch the replay right after, because this is being streamed on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. All right, so let's get down to it. Building trust in a skeptical era. Oh my gosh, trust is at an all-time low these days, and we're all feeling it. My poor client last week got ambushed by a response from a prospect. Now, let me set the stage for you on this. This prospect was a referral. The prospect knew my client was calling, but this is how it unfolded. When my client called, the prospect immediately went into what it is an ambush by saying to my prospect, "I don't trust any salespeople." And obviously, that really took my client back. I mean, it would anybody. When someone comes that strong, the first thing out of his mouth is, "I don't trust any salespeople." Ouch, right? What do you do in that situation? So, whenever someone starts out with a negative, I always agree. And I would have said something like, "You don't trust all salespeople." I'm leaning towards agreeing with you on that. And when you do that, you're kind of diffusing the emotions, because they're expecting you to be defensive and fight back. So agree with them to kind of diffuse that. All right. And then I would follow up by saying, what led you to believe that you can no longer trust salespeople? What happened? Change your tone, soften your tone, and ask that question. Now, and give the prospect room to rant as much as they want. And then when they're done, say to them, "I understand now why you say that. Where do you want to go from here?" Let them make that choice. Where should we go? Where do you want to go from here? So they could say, "Well, we have nothing more to talk about." And then say, "Thank you for your time. I appreciate you taking my call," and end the call. Don't try to get them into a conversation to change their minds. They're not going to change their minds. But if they say, "Well, what do you have to say?" I would go right back to, "Well, Bill, Todd recommended you, and this is why he recommended you." And then give him compliments that Bill told you about, in order to help him move away from this negative emotion and begin down that journey of, you know, moving forward in the conversation. So where do we begin from here? Where do you want to go from here? Say that. And then, you know, tell him about your relationship with the man that referred him to you and what he said about him. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's buttering him up. No, it's not buttering him up. It's being authentic by relaying to the prospect that his friend thought enough of him to refer my client to him. So be sure that you lay that out. Now, not all referrals are going to end up like that, but now my client had that experience. We went through the role playing of how that conversation could have unfolded, and he'll be prepared for the next time that may happen, and it may down the road. So when you're trying to establish trust, you absolutely have to put the sales jargon behind. Don't try to pitch and sell the person. You're there to ask questions and to listen. One of the biggest mistakes I see people do is on the first conversation with the prospect or the lead, they're trying to sell and pitch. No, that's not your role at that time. Your role is to gather information, find out if they're the only decision makers or who's involved in making the decisions and who they recommend that you speak to next. That's the way it should unfold for that first conversation. Now, if you're in more transactional sales, that's a different story. But I'm talking about salespeople who are put the client or the prospect and lead in a sales process. And the sales process is over many different calls and many different meetings. Okay. So what is selling really about? It's just having a conversation. That's what selling really is. It's not pitching. It's having a conversation to uncover what the problems and issues are. Sometimes you'll uncover problems and issues that the prospect didn't even know he had or she had. So that's really what it is a conversation. So let's say you've been selling for 15 years. And I want to ask you this question. You've been selling for 15 years. Do you have 1 year of experience that you've repeated over 15 years? Or do you have 15 years of experience with 15 years of learning your craft? All right. Why I say this is at one time back in the day, I thought I was this hotshot sales rep. I'd done really well with other companies, and I was recruited away from one company to this new company. And so they had me shadow their top sales rep. Well, the first sales call we went on, oh my gosh, I ate humble pie like you couldn't believe. I sat back and watched him masterfully communicate with the prospect. And I realized I had a communication problem. I was not communicating at a higher enough level. Is this you? Do you find yourself that you're not a good communicator? And you would be surprised how it's just little tweaks here and there that you can make to improve your communication skills. And when that happened, boy, did I buckle down and start learning different ways to ask questions and different ways to communicate. I want to thank the person that gave me a thumbs up earlier, so I appreciate that thumbs up. So let's go into some different ways we can communicate that make all the difference in the world and will help you establish trust in a deeper way. All right, here's the first one. This is a pet peeve of mine. Begging, please, please. Can I please have the name of the VP that you've recommended for me to talk to? Please call me back at that you leave in a voicemail. Can you please tell me more about that? Please is begging. What you're saying is that prospect is on a whole different level than you're at. So the prospect is here and you're down here, the lowly sales rep. If that's the way you're selling, feeling like you're not on the same playing field as that CEO, then they will treat you with the respect that you command. So if you command no respect because you're a lowly salesperson, that's the way they'll treat you. Okay? Eliminate, please, and can. Don't use can. Can I ask you a question? No, just ask the question. Can and please, get rid of those. Elevate your communication with the prospect. Now, here's a better way of saying it. Can I please say instead, who do you recommend would be the best person for me to speak to next? Do you see how that sounds much more professional than can I please? It sounds like that's what a professional would say. Who do you recommend that I speak to next? All right. Instead of saying, please call me back at, just say, my number is, and then give your number, and that's it. You don't have to go into the voicemail by saying, I look forward to talking to you. Can't wait to talk to you. Don't say any of that. Just say, hi, let me start over. Hi, Sarah. This is Christine with the Savvy Sales Lady Coaching Firm. My phone number is 317-645-8098. 317-645-8098. And then I hang up. You say it with confidence. You say it with an upbeat tone. You don't have to go into, have a good day. It just sounds corny. You're a professional. Speak like a professional. All right, let's go into the next one. And let me say this. When you say, have a good day, when you say, can I please call me back, I know what you're doing. You are trying to be courteous. You're trying to be respectful. But that's not what peer-to-peer people say to each other as professionals. They don't go into all of this sugary language. They just say, who do you recommend? And my number is, and ends the call. You're on the same level as the prospect, whether it's the CEO of the company or whether it's the sales manager. You're on the same level. And some people call it status. You're at the same status as all of these people. All right. Here's another huge no-no. This is a sure giveaway that you think that you're on a different level than the prospect you're talking to. And that is, hello, Mr. Brown, or hi, Miss Smith, or sir, or calling them sir or ma'am or miss. Now, people in the southern states do this quite a bit. That is common courtesy down there for them to do this in the southern states. I even asked them to eliminate this because you want to be on the same playing field as the person you're talking to. So eliminate, unless you're talking to the President of the United States or the Pope, Your Excellency, the Pope, or Holy Father, you eliminate the formality of Mr., Ms., Sir, Ma'am, or Miss. Okay, you're on the same level. All right, I don't want to keep beating that drum to death. Now, let's go to how to send a voicemail or an email when you being ghosted. All right, let's say that you set up a meeting with the prospect and the time came and Jim didn't show up. So you called and left a message after he didn't show up for the Zoom meeting, and you've called several times and you've got no response at all, none whatsoever. Now, I caveat this with, if he doesn't show up to the meeting, are you waiting a day? Are you doing it immediately after? You should do it immediately after. And then when you follow up again, are you waiting a week? You should follow up the very next day. All right. Don't put a lot of time in between, because remember, if you want to stay a priority in the prospect's mind, you only have a 48-hour window to stay as a priority. At every hour that ticks by, you become less and less a priority, and you open the window for your competition to come in and make that sale. So don't let much time go by. Okay. Now, this is what I say. If someone that was scheduled for a meeting and they didn't show up, I call immediately afterwards and I'll say something like, "Hi, Jim, I show that we were scheduled at 3:00 p.m. today. Maybe I got the time wrong. My number is 317-645-8098. And I'll repeat that. Okay. And then I'll send, I don't know what happened. My screen just went blank. Then I'll send the same message in an email. Okay. I'll say the same thing in an email. Now, if I haven't heard back after I've repeated this sequence twice, I'll either do this over the phone or an email. I may start with an email. I may start with a voicemail and then send an email, but I'll say this. Hi, Jim. It seems you're really busy. I left a few voice messages, but didn't hear back. Where do we go from here? My number is, and then say your number. So if you're going to leave a voicemail, you're going to say, "Hi, Jim, this is Christine Harrington with the Savvy Sales Lady Coaching Firm. It seems you're really busy. I left a few voice messages, but didn't hear back. Where do you want to go from here? My number is." And then in an email, I'll say, "Hi, Jim. It seems you're really busy. I left a few voice messages, but didn't hear back. Where do we go from here? Christine." That's it. Don't add anything more. A lot of people will say, really looking forward to working with you. We've got, a lot of strategies to talk about that I know we can help you with. We can help. No, don't go on this ramble. This is all you need to say. Where do we go from here, Christine, or your name? Don't add anything more. Okay. Now, right after this brief break, we're going to get into switching words and owning the issue. So we'll be right back after this. If you like the Savvy Sales Lady Live, you're really going to like the Savvy Sales Lady newsletter. It's delivered in your inbox once a week. Why don't you go ahead and subscribe? The link is in the show notes below so you won't miss this upcoming newsletter. I give you one tip to focus on each week to implement immediately into your sales day. Why not sign up and learn just a little bit more? Yeah, why not learn a little bit more? That newsletter comes out every Saturday and usually in the morning or early afternoon. So in the show notes below, you'll find the link. And all you hear from me is once a week. That's it. But you want to get on this newsletter because this is where I'm going to be announcing the cold calling course that's coming out in November. And I have early bird specials that you'll want to be on the newsletter and take advantage of that. All righty. Now let's go over to switching words for impact. So instead of saying budget, talk about funding. How do you usually fund a project like this? Have you funded other projects like this? Use funding instead of budget. Funding, sounds like more of a process, where budget sounds like, oh, we're almost out of budget. We don't want them to go there. We want to know how they usually fund these types of projects, these types of services or products. And so the next one is, if you're someone that has to have signatures on an application, for example, insurance agents, instead of saying sign here, you're going to say approve. Or approval. All we need is your approval. Okay? So not sign here, approval. When it's signing here, it's like, ooh, now I'm committed to this. And I don't know if I'm ready to commit to this. But approval is giving permission. So that's why approval works much better. All right, instead of saying, can you elaborate on your issue? Name the issue. All right. Tell me more about the issue you're having with your sales reps having call reluctance. Tell me more about that. And use a tone of concern. All right. Name it. Just don't say issue or problem. Or I can understand how the problem of not having enough storage on your tablets can really, really disrupt your sales team. Not, I can understand how this problem can really, really disrupt your sales team. Do you see the difference there? Have them use the words for impact. Switch the words for impact. There's like 100 more I could go through. Think about the words you're using and see if you can switch them to words that have more impact. All right. Now, the next one is owning the issue. Okay. And here's one. Why look at adding ancillary products now? So this was something I used in group benefits all the time. They're meeting with me because they're thinking about adding ancillary products. So this sometimes is referred to as the negative approach. But what I want them to do is name it for me, that they're owning that there is this issue that they need to provide ancillary products for their team. So I would say, why look at adding ancillary products now? Why not just not offer the product like most companies, right? Or say, why look at adding ancillary products now? Just don't offer the products like most companies, right? Okay, that kind of puts them back on their heels and say, well, no. And this is the response I would get. Well, no, our employees are asking about ancillary products. Well, what changed that they now are interested in ancillary products? Okay, see how I did that? What changed? 9 times out of 10, one of the senior, um, either managers or someone in the C-suite had a claim and their current insurance didn't cover it. So now they're thinking about ancillary products because that happened to one of the senior members of the firm. So get them to own the issue. All right. Why look at adding, let's see, how can we say that? Why look at adding a new CRM product now? Just don't offer the new CRM. Like most companies, they just stick with their current CRM, right? And then have them talk to you about this. And then, if they don't tell you what changed, then say, well, what changed that your current CRM um, product that you're using is no longer effective for your sales team? Flush it out. Flush it out. These are little tweaks you can do that can have a big impact on your sales. So if you're coming in late, you can view this live stream once it's over. And I really want you to think about what we talked about today and start implementing these next week into your sales day. And I would love for you to drop me an email. And my email is right there, Christine@ChristineHarrington.com. Well, thank you for being on the Savvy Sales Lady Live. And remember, sales is a journey, not a quick trip around the block. Stay savvy, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.